In today's video, we're going to talk pixels, specifically the latest A series Pixel, the Pixel 8a. It costs $50 more than the current price on the Pixel 7a, but the improvements are, let's just say, minute. Let's break down that spec sheet for you quickly. So IP67, a OLED display, 6.1 inch, HDR at 2000 nits of peak brightness, Android 14 out of the box. The main difference here, one of the main differences is Tensor G3. In reality, that's the only difference. 8 GB of RAM, 120 GB of storage. The cameras, 64 and 13, wide and ultra wide on the back, and then 13 megapixel ultra wide on the front, both capable of 4K in 30 or 60 FPS, with the battery capacity being 4,492 milliamp hours, which is slightly more. Now, we're not going to mention speeds of charging and a few other things, because we're going to leave that to the later part of the review to kind of touch on things that are a bit weird when it comes to Pixel 8a. But one of the main selling points of any Pixel device has always been its cameras, 64 and 13 on the rear. Let's talk about those next. Rear of the Pixel 8a, 64 megapixel wide, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 4K at 60 it tops out. Most of the time you're recording in 30 megapixel, and then on the front you've got a 13 megapixel front facing shooter, which again 4K 30 FPS is a cap. Now, the one thing we will say about video and photo on the Pixel 8a, you'll see throughout this slideshow, is camera performance is very, very, very good. In fact, if you look up at DxOMark, whilst these images run across the screen, it actually ranks very, very closely to the S24 series, and it's pretty much exactly the same as, you guessed it, a Pixel 7a. So general photography in natural environments, click and shoot, there's a lot of post-processing with AI, as they call it, or computational photography, which is probably what it's always been known as. And when you move across to things like portrait mode or night mode or video, the output is excellent. So night mode shots are really, really good. Doesn't do too much to over brighten darker areas. And then in video, you'll get an excellent color production in normal light and day-to-day light. And then when you move across to night mode, again, you're losing a bit of detail. There's a bit of graininess and a bit of noise, but generally the camera performance on the Pixel 8a is right up there. Very reminiscent of the 7a, having used it for a little bit, and right up there with a lot of the flagships. Pixel 8a runs on Android 14 out of box. As you'd expect, we don't need to go over Android 14 because it's pretty much available everywhere. This will get Android 15 through a software update. And speaking of software updates, guess what gets 7 years of software updates right past 2030? Yes. This phone, which costs $499, you count on promotion, get a bit cheaper, will get 7 years of software updates, and is one of the main reasons we would say that if you're looking for a Pixel series but you don't want to spend the top notch, maybe consider this purely for software support moving forward. But there's so much more to this. Pixel phones have always been renowned for their cameras, but also, to nick a line from Marquez, they've always been known as the smartest smartphone. No feature demonstrates that better than its AI features, in particular, besides Magic Eraser, which obviously a lot of phones are now getting, but it's great anyway. But personally, the voice to text feature, which I use a lot, is incredible. So if you're annotating, or if you've got thoughts that you just want to put on there, or you want to do your daily diary log just for mental well-being, it's amazing. It's able to translate your voice into text super quickly and super accurately. There may be a few things that you need to change, but generally speaking, it's incredible. And that's one of the benefits of Tensor G3. That feature, I think, is probably unique to the Pixel series of phones. However, what's not unique is the 120 Hz display, and it, by default, for some reason, sticks at 60 Hz. You have to change to 120 Hz, but when you're using it, it is butter smooth. The display is very vibrant and easy to use. Software, classic Google, again, very easy to use, super responsive. The only downside we would say is, compared to the Pixel 7a, there's not been much of an increase in battery life. So if you're running it at 120 Hz, it more than likely will impact battery. However, as you know, you only get a Pixel 8a phone with a cable inside when you unbox it. This, the cheeky little product placement, but this is where the Anker Nano comes into effect. Essentially, this is a 30 watt fast charging brick. Your Pixel 8a will only charge to 18 watts, which is a bit of a negative. But essentially, if you invest in something like this, it will be future-proof. You could even then grab yourself a nice little cable as well if you wanted something longer, so you can doom scroll while you're in bed. But the Anker series is world-renowned for being the best third-party power supply or power accessory company in the world. So if you were looking for an Anker accessory or an accessory in general, hit the description below, click the link and shop Anker. Our final thoughts on the Pixel 8a. Let's just talk about things that we mentioned at the start of the review that we want to mention now. Three things. Three things. Wireless charging is only 7.5 watts, which is awful. And then power delivery, the fastest the Pixel 8a can charge is 18 watts. Those two may not matter to a lot of people, but one thing I would say does matter, and it is design. These borders on this phone are criminal. I mean, there's no aesthetic. I can't believe that this design aesthetic is very similar to the Samsung A35, which we'll link in the description below. You're getting really large borders, which seems so weird because the phone is super sleek, it's very well built, it looks great, it runs brilliantly, camera is very good, screen resolution is excellent. Why does it have these borders? This could be a slightly smaller, more compact phone at 6.1 inches and have a narrower bezel top to bottom, and it doesn't. So the design feels, although nice to hold, a little bit outdated. So if you're in the market for a Pixel device, don't go for the 7a, because why would you? You're going to lose out on the software updates. Go for the 8a, but no, you are getting a slightly compromised device, although brilliant in so many ways that are classic Pixel. Google Assistant and AI, its cameras and generally its performance, but no, the design is slightly outdated. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, as always, we out.